Month's Roundtable, your all-in-one comprehensive view of what's happening across the real estate industry, straight from some of the industry's earliest technology adopters and foremost experts in technology, marketing, brokerage, government policy, capital construction, and cybersecurity. As always, this is a three-part show. Part one, introduction and what's new for each of our roundtable hosts in their business sector. Part two, sector focus. We unpack the biggest months, paradigm shifts, and news. And part three, what does it all mean for you as you go forward and outpace your competition? I'm Andreas, Senie, founder of CRECollaborative, brokerage owner, and managing director at KW Commercial. And joining me this month is none other than Dan Wagner from the Inland Group of Companies. Dan, always a pleasure to see you out of Chicago. As usual, there's Abe, and there you are. I just do the correlation. You look great. Nice to see you.
Amen.
Welcome back. For those that don't know, this is our 99th episode. Also joining us for the 99th episode is none other than Saul Klein, Realtor Emeritus, foremost Evangelist and technology adopter. Saul, welcome back. Thank you.
Great to be back.
It is a great day. It's November. It's the end of the year. We'll talk about that in a moment. Also joining us this month, none other than Chris Abel, VP, Associated Builders and Contractors Construction, all things construction. Chris, nice to see you again. It's been a while.
It has. Can you hear me loud and clear or what?
Always. I hear nails in my head every day from what just kidding. Thanks. Welcome back. And last but certainly not least, Becca Carlson, all things marketing, Becca marketing maven, and I hit her with that every time. That was the early on slogan, right? Nice to see you again, although it hasn't been that far off since we saw each other in person for CRETech at Javits, where there was an incredible amount to talk about. So we will. All right. Guess what? Tonight, Dan, you're to my right in the Brady Bunch window. So
Hey.
Tell us, what's the latest and greatest out of Inland and overall? I hear you've got a new role or more responsibility. A lot of things.
I do. So I'm I represent Inland in all the local, state, national associations. As I tell everybody, I'm the Tom Sawyer of Inland. I get all of our associations to paint the fence for Inland. Everybody on this is old enough to understand that reference, but I will tell you, younger folks have not read Tom Sawyer. So it's kind of wild when you say that. But in one of my roles for Inland, I'm the chair of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, and I just was our current CEO just left, and so besides being chair, I'm also the president and CEO of the Illinois Chamber now. So that just happened a couple of days ago. So just when I was getting bored, I got something else to do. So unfortunately, I was planning on going to the National Association of Realtors convention in Houston, and I had to cancel my ticket because I have now staff that I have to direct and work with at the Illinois Chamber. So I've talked to all the appropriate leaders and let them know that I cannot be in Houston, but my heart will be in Houston next week with everyone. But I will tell you the latest and greatest that's happened, and I think it's important to recognize when people think that one party is going to rule the world all the time, clearly that's not the case. You had the Democrats come back at a national level where they won governor's races, they won the mayor of New York, and I think it's important that we all remember that we're not red or blue, but we're the Realtor party, and so we work with both sides of the aisle, and our 1031 coalition is very aware of that, and so we're working to make sure that the Democrat side of the aisle is up to date on the latest and greatest about the 1031 exchange and how important it is to our economy. And you never know what's going to happen, but the Wall Street Journal today talked about how the House and probably not the Senate, but possibly the House would switch back to Democrat because especially the California ballot measure passed in regards to redistricting. So it's important that we never lose sight that we can't be partisan because you don't burn any bridges. You keep all lanes of traffic open. And I think in this real estate world, all of us just remember that. And in this past election this week, I think it really highlights that we need to be aware that things do change.
Absolutely. We're all professional real estate. We're practitioners. We have clients. They have views, beliefs. I don't speak about religion or politics if I'm not at home in the comfort of my own house or with very, very close friends. Then we argue, but again, not out in public. And that's what works. And regardless of where we're going, where we've been includes the one big, beautiful bill, right? So a lot
Yes.
happened for the commercial industry recently
Lots of habit.
that
And on a
are
personal
very
note, I will tell you, Andreas, I have my I decorate for every holiday, and I have 7 blow up turkeys in my front yard. So I believe that's called a gaggle of turkeys. So and I'm prepared for the Christmas holiday to have the most Christmas lights in the history of the Wagner family being lit on. So Clark Griswold, watch out. So I am the decorator of the
I absolutely love that. I bought this house 3 years ago, and Christmas came around, and I'm all set. I'm doing my decorations, and I look over. My neighbor's got a 40-foot tall evergreen that's completely lit, and I went, "Oh, I lost. I'm done," and enjoyed the holiday anyways. Just to the right of Dan on our Brady Bunch wheel. Go ahead, Saul. What's the latest and greatest out of California? Speaking of,
Well, everything's fine in California.
is that all caps FINE and what that?
Yeah. No, so it's interesting. The market is slower than it has been. I think we've been talking about this for a while. In California, in October, the governor signed a bill into law that requires when people that are licensed in real estate post an image that's been enhanced, that they also post or a link to or the original image, and that goes into effect in January. And that's kind of an interesting thing. Most people don't know that in California yet. And so we're already talking to different people about what technology do you bring to bear? We're an MLS, and what we do is, while we don't display the data, we make it available to entities that do display the data. So if in fact an agent uploads an altered image, how do we tip off the people that take the data from us to display the data? And so that's an interesting new issue to deal with. And then, of course, you saw.
Wait, I'm sorry. How new is that? Isn't that called puffing or stretching the truth, as brokers may sometimes do? Just now.
Well, except no, I think they call it staging.
That costs more, but sure, I'll give you that.
And actually, staging is one of those. If you enhance the property, and we've all seen this, right, where they take a wall down in the image, or there's a stairway that really isn't there. And so those types of things, now, if you're going to do that, and some agents do, then you have to provide access to the original image. And
fantastic.
nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, that's for the benefit of the consumer.
Well, and there's nothing worse than digitally altering it enough that when they walk in, they go, "Am I at the right property?" Right? Because there's that fear.
Yeah.
For illustrative purposes.
What starts in California often spreads across. What starts in California works its way all the way to the East Coast, and then it works its way back to Ohio, and that's when they figure out it's illegal.
Well, and then it gets back to Chicago, and it gets passed or rejected. But hold on.
Well, it's going to be interesting. The mayor of Chicago was the most liberal mayor in the history of the world. Now, New York is now, it looks like, is going to be upstaging Chicago. So we will see.
I'm from New York. New York is always upstage Chicago. I mean, I'm sorry, but
Andreas and I were just talking about all the business he's going to get, all the people that want to get out of New York and get into Connecticut.
I call that a paradigm shift. I learned it from you, and yes, we are busier than ever. But to be fair, I mean, overall, it's a transformative era here in commercial real estate, right? You have the largest group of owners at a certain age, and they have to make a move, or not. But the transfer of wealth is happening, coupled with $957 billion in commercial mortgages maturing in 2025. By the way, it's the end of 2025. I love the last quarter. I do the most this quarter. As should everybody tuning in. Speaking of the most this quarter and tuning in, Becca, what's the latest and greatest? Also out of Chicago on the marketing side.
Saul, I really appreciate your story about those policies around image editing. We actually had a situation this week where a client reached out to us and asked us to put some logos on a building because they have a prospective tenant. And my team is so well trained and so knowledgeable around those issues that they've sent a note back to the client because they didn't understand the use case. And they said, that is intellectual property of that company. We can't just put their image, like superimpose their logos on your building. And then they had to come back and explain to us the use case of why. But we've done a lot of conversations internally around intellectual property. Like, you can't take other people's intellectual property and you can't just put it wherever you want.
That's a big question you throw in his way, because data ownership and us brokers who provide all the data. Go ahead.
Well, in this case, this is using Photoshop to put something on a building that's not really there. And we literally had this come up this week, and I was ridiculously proud of my team for understanding the intellectual property implications of just doing that without having a full understanding and guidance from the client as to the use case. And use case guides everything. And so in this case, obviously, it wasn't marketing the building, and it certainly wasn't going on the MLS or any site, but very interesting things happening in that world of intellectual property and image modifications. So we're paying attention.
Paying attention, and to be fair, Carlson Integrated has AI policy, has marketing. Like, there are policies you've already put into place, right?
Absolutely.
So, and we're not to spoil this for later, but we did spend a lot of time at this event talking about the different guardrails and different things and ways to protect yourself, because at this point, as much as I don't want to say it because Saul say I told you so, AI is here. It's here to stay. Adopt it. You must, right? It's too late.
Did you ever say that?
I never said that. You said it would replace us in three more years, I think now, and I still say it can't. It hallucinates and so on. But I'm not going to go down that route yet, because I got to say hi to Chris, and especially given the advanced. What's called BIM, Advanced Building Information Modeling, digital twins. So much going on in the construction space. Chris, nice to have you back with us. It's been a short while.
Absolutely. So Saul mentioned, you getting busy and having people coming from New York and can be heading into Connecticut. I will tell you, contractors are already starting to do that. I've been dealing with a lot of contractors from New York that are looking to get into the Connecticut chapter over at ABC. It's pretty interesting. Hey, if they're going to build here, then obviously, come on in and we'll help them out, and we'll help spread the love within our members and their members, and they're going to start offices here and all that sort of stuff. And it's funny, I was in a conference yesterday, coming off the heels of our Excellence in Construction Awards. We had about 730 people out at the AquaTurf in Southington, Connecticut for our awards event. And there was a lot of talk of AI there. And I went to a workshop last night in regards to AI. And one of the panelists said, I will say that AI won't be able to build buildings. And they kind of had that mic drop moment. And it was interesting to see how the room, all of a sudden you heard like a couple people mention, well, robots, well, this. It was one of the more interesting comments that I heard throughout the night, to get kind of a reaction of, it was kind of, wait reaction. And then everything got a little bit quiet. And then it was time to have hors d'oeuvres and time to have some drinks and stuff. And you could tell that sent the whole group into kind of a buzz of different opinions and where they were and who was feeling a certain way about how things are going to get built in the future and how AI is already integrated and how it's going to be integrated into the industry. But long story short, the consensus was what we've been saying, get on board early, start learning if you haven't already, and kind of see where the train goes. And, it's going to be on the tracks for a long time.
If you're not using it at all, you're already in trouble. You've got to be using it somewhere, right?
Yep. That was one of the questions last night, was about raise your hand in the room if you're using it on a daily basis. And I would say probably 70% of the room, maybe about 120 people, probably 70% of the room put their hand up. I did not.
Well,
I'm in the
Because
people
you're
business
not,
too.
or because you didn't want to raise your hand?
Not every day. That was the thing. It was a daily basis question, and there's a lot of things I do in my job that it's just not a daily. We're all using it daily, but they were talking about specific. Are you pulling up ChatGPT?
Every day use
I love my
day.
Copilot, guys. My Copilot
Yes.
on Microsoft I use that every day.
A lot of talk on that.
And there's a great example. Hold on. Inland Copilot for Dan. Why Copilot? Why at Inland is that okay? Because Copilot is an enterprise grade product. It's part of Microsoft 365. It's black boxed is the term. Whereas, and this is a public service announcement to all our followers and those that tune in, of which we are 5,987 last month. All of you, like us, I believe, all know that you absolutely cannot put client-facing data or client data such as models, anything proprietary into ChatGPT, Perplexity, or any of them, because then you're just open sourcing it to the guys like me who show up and query those things and say, hey, what can you tell me about XYZ area? There are huge AI implications and huge breach implications when you upload those leases or those models, waterfall models, and you ask it to summarize it or compare it. You have to drill it down. You have to pull stuff out. I won't go too deep into that because it can be incredibly boring, but I believe the fines are, well, I mean, you can shut your doors over it, candidly. So if you're not doing enough yet, or if you don't know what to do, there's a lot of smart people at this table that can help you, and do seek out advice. So that all being said, speaking of advice and those using it, I do want to point over to Saul here. So your MLS was not the first, but absolutely using AI in your day-to-day to check copy and work through the system, right? Has that changed? Has it expanded?
No, we're using it more and more. One thing we did is we assigned one of our employees to be like the project manager of AI, right? So that really the key is getting everybody to adopt it and use it. And so if you don't have some kind of system to get people to use it on a regular basis, like you have to go in at least 5 times a day, query it, right, and then report back. And so we have assigned somebody to kind of help us to keep everybody on their toes to make them utilize it. But we're still using it. It's really valuable. It helps us get to answers quicker. We have a chatbot on our site that's got all of our documentation, and it helps not only the users of the MLS, but also the employees. They can go to the site and ask questions. It also helps, we're a wholly owned subsidiary of the San Diego Association of Realtors. And sometimes people want to call the MLS, but they end up calling the association, and the staff there doesn't necessarily know the answer. So now they go to our website and they ask our chatbot and they get answered. But I want to mention, I go in every day, multiple times, and I have written lots of things over the years. And I now have started to use AI to help me put together stories around things I did 10, 15, 20 years ago. So an author that had a great influence on me was a fellow by the name of Alvin Toffler. And he wrote a number of works. And the first one I read was called Future Shock. And the second one was the third wave. And the third one was Power Shift, leading up into the age of information and how that is going to affect the world. And I've used quotes from him for many years, and I hadn't really thought about going back into all the stuff I'd written before and just loading it up and then asking questions about it, and then saying, create a 500, 1,000, 1,500 word article around, and then I'd ask questions that I know about the books. And it's amazing, right? So I had another situation where in 1974, I was at the tip of the sword. It was after they had pulled the troops out of Vietnam, but the war wasn't over. And Pol Pot was coming down to, it was in Cambodia to invade Phnom Penh. And we thought we'd have to evacuate the embassy. So they sent my ship and another ship. We were there. And they sent us out there to evacuate the embassy. Now, luckily, nothing happened at that time for us. We spent 30 days in the Gulf of Thailand waiting. And so I thought, I'm going to see if there's any more information about this. So I wrote everything that I could remember about it. And it went in and found all kinds of information about that period in history, what took place during that period of time. So every day I think of a new reason to use AI, whatever model I might decide I'm going to use, different models that can do different things for us. But it's fascinating. It's actually kind of fun. And maybe not even from a business perspective, but just a way to spend time and be careful because it's a time sink.
Oh, it's like the infinity scroll on Facebook, right?
You can spend a lot of time playing with this stuff.
Well, so outside of you doing a manual query, right? If you going in and testing, right? And the it acting as a function for the MLS, are you guys adding more functionality? And what I mean by that is EAC, it answers our phones, right? It summarizes our emails. It's not invaded. We have layered it into almost every part of the business to make us smarter and faster. Have you done the same?
Well, yes. So we were talking to a developer the other day. We're working with them because what we'd like to have is, the input, MLS listing input done by AI automatically. So you walk into a unit and you just take your phone and you move it around the room, and it then will capture the information for all of the fields that it can capture. And then, now it's not doing it, we're actually working on this. Or then it'll go out to the tax service and pull the AP parcel number and that kind of information in. And then it'll give you a list of all the mandatory fields that it couldn't enter. And so there's a great use of AI in data input, finding the data, and imagine the time it will save real estate agents and the accuracy that it could bring to the table. Now, the agent still have to go over it, make sure it's accurate before they input it into the MLS. But, the more you play with this and think about it, the more practical application you're going to find for it, right?
Right.
But if you never play with it, you're never going to think of these things.
And if you don't touch it at all, you're already too far behind. Now, Inland's forward thinking. They've got a lot of awards around. I know they've started to use AI, and I'm going to put Dan on the spot here a bit. One of the AI applications that major institutions have started to use is around predictive risk, around understanding when or what needs repair, or as an early warning system, which is to say they are using it to manage their portfolio at a broader level. Dan, can you speak at all to the AI?
Well, I will tell you. So, interestingly enough, we have 1,400 employees, and you're right, we have a huge world of technology here at Inland, and various sectors of our individuals are using AI for predictive analysis, all these different aspects you're talking about. Little Dan Wagner, who does government relations for the Inland Real Estate Group, I'm in my own little silo, but I cut across all lines and all sectors here at Inland. Our IT executive said, Dan Wagner, you're going to get up to date. You're 58 years old and you don't know technology, so we're going to put this co-pilot, and they got me trained. And I will tell you what, it has totally changed the way I do work. When I just type in a couple ideas of what I need, and boom, I got everything I need for any kind of correspondence, research on different bills, on different issues. It taking some old things I've written and they've spruced it up. It just has been so amazing to see how quick things are able to be adopted. And I'm clearly not Mr. Technology, but it's just that easy. It couldn't be any easier. So I use it every day for all my different correspondence and research, and it is a whole new world. I can't even believe it. I remember going back to Illinois State to the Dewey Decimal System and going to look up periodicals and having a whole bunch of dimes in my hand to make my copies for my paper. And I mean, and my freshman year, I had the big thing is I got an electric typewriter, and it could go back on one whole line, it would memorize that line to be able to erase it, so I wouldn't have to use the whiteout. So that was how old I am.
So you've been cutting edge for your whole career. What I heard was, I'm cutting edge for my whole career.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Saul, did you ever use an electric typewriter and use whiteout?
I use whiteout. I gotta feel sorry for the whiteout people, right? or the chalk thing that you put it in the typewriter and you hit the key and the chalk blocks it out. And I tell you what, when I got an IBM Selectric, that was like incredible, right? The technology where you could hit a button and go backspace and erase what was there, and then you could replace the font and the font size with this typewriter ball. That was like amazing technology at the time. I still have a couple in my garage.
But let's unpack that specifically, right? So here these technologies came to play, and I am sure that people said, I'm never going to do that and I don't need it. And every one of them now has not only done it, we've come to today. And as much as I hate to admit it, Saul, you were right. Everybody's using AI. Everyone that matters is using it in some way or another, including the construction world. And I'm going to go to marketing next. But Chris, has AI been layered in and fully invaded your sector?
Yeah. I mean, yes. So for the construction side, yes. I mean, my personal, situation being in the, the association space, obviously I'm dealing with things a little bit differently than the actual contractors in the actual builders. But yeah, that was basically, like I said, I'm attending as many things that if it says AI in the event title or anything even describing it, I'm just getting out there and just taking it all in through osmosis and just kind of dabbling with it. Like Saul was saying, trying to find a way to get into it every day, even if I'm not using it for my actual job, just to kind of find out what I can, what I can use it for. Because to be honest with you, I know in the association space, it's being used, and I'm going to be able to utilize it to hopefully have more success where I am now. But the builders and the contractors, they are putting together their, whenever they're getting their invitations to bid, they are the only thing that was discussed yesterday when they were talking about AI specific was a lot of the information that is being put in front of them. It's making it a little bit more difficult for some of the GCs and some of the owners to select who they really want to go with, because a lot of the stuff is coming out obviously even more similar than they've ever seen before, which has made the whole process interesting, because it's something you would always say here in bidding is they open up the bids, and if someone came in extremely low or extremely high, everyone kind of looks at each other and wonders, okay, did I miss something? What did I miss? What are they doing? Whatever the case is. Now, the numbers are the numbers, but the documentation that's going along with it, a couple of the developers were saying, well, the information is the same, the wording is the same, the descriptions are the same. So it's actually getting a little bit harder to figure out how someone could really miss something, how far off. So the bidding is actually getting a bit more competitive, or I would say a lot more competitive, especially up here in the Northeast when it comes to what these numbers look like, because it's getting harder and harder for someone to either miss something or try to say, you know what, I can get this in for lower and we could do this job for lower, when the reality of it is AI is helping them kind of sort out the fact that, hey, if you come in at this amount, you're going to be heading for a boatload of trouble. And so everything seems a lot more competitive to get the lowest.
The race to the bottom, or the fairest price, I think, is where.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm getting at. So again, I'm not in those rooms. I have been. If you've never been in one of those rooms, it's a pretty exciting, it's a pretty remarkable thing to see these bids get open at the same time. So.
Is it just as a point of clarification? Are you saying that the GCs and the ones bidding on these jobs are using AI to help write the proposal, which means all of the same, let's call it headings,
verbiage, and everything's kind of spitting out the same type of stuff, which has always been similar, but now it's coming out some of it's coming out almost identical, and it's very similar to you know, when you see resumes and when you say things like that, and you go and you just look at it and go, all right, well, AI spit this out. AI
Right.
spit this out. I
That's
need to
what
go talk to
network
their
now, right?
yeah. I need to go talk to this team. We need to interview this team live to see if our project is really going to be taken care of. If they understand, if everyone to Saul's point, there was also a lot of talk of bigger companies having a council to make sure everyone is integrating and using this on a daily basis, where they can use it at a level that is a little bit lower. They could use it at that medium level, but making sure that they understand that information. So when it gets up to some expert level stuff where there could be some issues, that they are understanding where the mistakes are, because that's when a lot of these contractors get themselves into trouble. If they miss something, they can end up
They lose money. If they
they
don't
could
have,
lose money or just lose the job because they didn't see something that was out there and that someone else saw that AI couldn't touch. It's
or
interesting. It's a very interesting format how everything's panning out right now.
so I'll speak for realtors and brokers everywhere here. I have noticed when I look at the descriptions of items, right? The property description, the about. Within 3 words, I go, no. This is AI. This is not
Yes.
a person, right? So I mean that is obviously prevalent everywhere, and it goes back to the saying of your network being net worth, and having your proof stack, your book of past successes ready to go, and people to call is huge. But if I'm going to talk about proof stacks, I've got to give it over to the marketing maven back up as far as AI and so on. Thanks, Chris.
Well, AI doesn't differentiate, right? Like it doesn't differentiate. It's a tool. So the inputs have to be different and the exploration has to be different. And case in point, I have a former client who was using AI to do their property descriptions, and what their brochures said was inaccurate and it simply wasn't true. But they put in the site and talked about all of the beautiful amenities of a dilapidated old barn. Not an actual office building.
Wow.
But they'd put in AI prompts for office buildings for their other brochures, and it simply cut and pasted because it seemed like a normalized description. And it caused me concern, and we're not working with them anymore because I think that comes into some, truth in advertising issues. There are some ethics violations that come into play, but utilizing AI to go beyond that least common denominator and instead build out more unique perspectives and content is really what a more sophisticated user of AI for their content, that's what they're doing. Versus just taking that section that's the least common denominator. Now, when we were actually at CRETech, one of my I'm in an awesome women's group, and one of the women in the group owns a cybersecurity company, and she was doing a presentation for our women's group on AI. And she was really encouraging the women in particular to explore it, because the statistic right now is that women are 22% less likely to adopt AI. So that is a reality that here we have some gender divides, and probably there are some economic divides. There are probably some subcultural divides that are going to come into play. And just because there isn't, as much as we want to think there's universal access, there's probably not. So I would imagine that there are going to be some elements around ensuring that there is similar access. And it'll be fun to see how that plays out, because if those who are able to use it as a tool and because they have access experience, kind of outsized returns for that versus people who simply didn't have access. Like, does that feel good to anybody? Probably not.
If history teaches us anything, and regulation is slow to happen, right? Saul has said it a few times. It takes, when we start today, won't become a trend or won't be adopted for 10 years. So for me, as a smaller guy in the grandiose, world we live in, I'm flexible enough to use AI, right? But even Inland's using it, and they're top 5 in the country. So is the MLS. So are the contractors that are still running XP on their computers. So the access question, and I didn't mean that as a slight to contractors. I'm saying they don't need it, right? The access is there, but you are right. I mean, I pay for it. I pay for premium, and I would struggle to go back to being at a place where I didn't use it. So I will say that much. And I can't wait to see what the kids who are learning from a young age today with an AI teacher next to them, how incredibly smart everyone's going to be by the time they're adults. Hopefully, I hope. But
smart or lazy?
Lazy is a different part of the conversation. 100% right. If you hire someone to do something for someone, right? But there'll be guardrails. For instance,
there will be.
Our industry, right? If you take 3 different leases with red lines and you ask AI to compare them, or rather to draw conclusions based on the edits, looking at red and blue and so on, after, and be sure to do this part, everyone, redacting the addresses and or people in them, right? Just leave the rest in, address and parties. Does it print out or otherwise report to you some key insights? 100%. If it didn't know what it was doing, or if you didn't actually know how to read a lease and having not read hundreds, were there some errors? Yeah, I've tried it. There were some gaping errors. But one place I do love it is, when you're sending a tough email, right? And you plop it in, you say, how's the tone of this? And it comes back to you and it says, this is how this could be received. So there's a simple one, and you can do that on the free version. Last I checked. To all those tuning in. But
Andreas, there's so many uses that you don't even think about until you start doing it. So if you have to review a 200-page document and you're looking for something specific in that 200-page document, it's pretty easy to upload the document into your large language model and then ask it about what you're looking for, and it'll find it for you. So there's nothing there that's necessarily intellectual. It's just can find things faster than you and I. So there's a lot of different levels of use of this.
Depends on the document, right? We had a host of engineers that got fired for uploading schematics to proprietary tech, would be my pushback there. But you're right. I am astounded by the ways in which I find I can use it. And that was what CRETech was all about this year. Everybody and anyone was using talking AI. And while I hesitate to go to every conference or show that says AI in front of it, I could see the draw. I mean, it's finally happening. These rooms have been these rooms for a long time, and here it is.
See, but I think it's accessible to everybody at this point at some level. And the key is just to begin to use it in as elementary form as possible. But what'll happen is it'll actually prompt you, and then you'll start to get imaginative with it, and you'll start to figure out other things that can help you do. But until you do those simple things, you're never going to get to that level where you start thinking of things that you hadn't thought about the week before, where it might be able to help you out.
It's an incredible tool. I mean, here we've got Dan using Copilot. Who knows what he's putting there? Oh, wait, somebody Copilot. So for everything it's worth. But, Dan.
His decoration, holiday decoration schematics.
Yeah. How did the best
That's a big deal. How many LED lights can be on one plug? That's the major question.
We'll get an electrician
I'm
over
going to prompt my AI to compare Dan Wagner and Abe Lincoln. I'm going to send it to you because I think it would be a very good comparison.
Well, I will highlight to you. We've had some excitement in Chicago, so the different laws and everything is always interesting to see how people try to, with their legislative ideas, impact real estate. But when the mayor of Chicago put forward his budget, and one of the things he wants to do is charge a head tax in the city where it's $21 a month per employee, which is a brand new thing. So a whole bunch of companies are talking about, if they where can they go to now because that is blowing their minds. There's also the possibility of having a tax coming into the city with your car, where you'd have to also pay just to be in the city. So we have to recognize that why we have, there's AI and everything out there. There still is the craziness of politicians' ideas and how that impacts our real estate world constantly. And so the idea of increased taxes, and so we're out there always, and we're lucky to have the real estate model where we have organized real estate leaders coming into play where they're challenging elected officials. And I just always want to bring us back to how really lucky we are that we all belong to these associations, because we have AI and they help us learn how to use it. We also have these different old time ideas of politics that we also have to always be ready to stand up and come together as a group. And nothing is more important than us, our Realtor brand, working together.
Well, there is absolutely zero. There's no replacement for experience, right? Experienced people teaching AI and experienced people leading and educating those younger or newer to the business, both in business and out in politics, right? Protecting what's important. The
Yes.
1031, the 401k of commercial real estate.
There you go. Yes, of course.
Ask ChatGPT or one of those platforms to explain that and the nuances there too. And it may be a little too informed to give you the answer you need. It will help you invest in it, and it keeps, the economy moving. In short, I'll say it for you. But people are
The thing I didn't mention, though, that the thing that's impacting everybody is the shutdown of government. It's still causing chaos in different parts of the country. Especially, we're seeing that if you're going to be flying this weekend, I believe the airlines are chopping out 10% of the flights, maybe more. So just people that are, I know we have almost 6,000 people now that download us, but people from all around the country and all around the world, this is a big deal for the United States right now, and hopefully they'll be able to come to some resolution sooner rather than later. But it is impacting people who need food. It's impacting people who are, that need to get paychecks. So I couldn't let this episode go by without talking about that. It's a big deal.
No, it is. And since you brought up our global audience, I wanted to thank our global audience, of which 70% here in North America, 13% in Europe, 7% in Asia, 1% Africa, and 6% in South America. So it's starting to skew, guys. We need more of our audience to show up here in the U.S. But yes, the government shutdown, we cannot continue this way. And I hesitate to go down a political route. It's not, let's go down the economic route. It's not good for business.
Right.
We're all in the business to do business.
Right.
So with that being said, I know Sal's Car Wash continues to thrive and grow in California because it's California, but the rest of us, here we are, government shutdown. AI is here to stay. I admit, I'm using it. Everyone on the call is using it. We're already at 644. Starting with Chris, who we haven't seen for some time, what is the best piece of advice you can give to your sector, to the contractors, the architects, to the built world, those building it, and the rest of our audience?
So one of the things, the government shutdown is causing a lot of issues for anyone who's doing any sort of public work around here. There's definitely a pressure on some of these contractors if they can't, and it's a tough time because you're starting to deal in New England, in the tri-state, you're starting to eventually get into that rough weather situation. So the biggest piece of advice I could give is keeping your best people busy and trying to keep anyone that you deem as very difficult to replace, keeping them moving, keeping them going, and try to bear the brunt of keeping good employees, especially skilled tradespeople, rocking and rolling with your company, even if it does cost you a few extra dollars to get through this government shutdown if you're doing public work and in the winter, because there's a remarkable amount of people switching jobs right now in the industry. And there's a lot of people that I've been talking to recently because of the government shutdowns, they've been forced to lay off a few people here and there. And we've talked about this in the past. You start laying off people, solid construction people right now. There is no magic wand to just come out with tradespeople that are just ready to go and ready to get out there and start working, and or quite frankly, construction managers, project managers, and and people that are highly sought after, because we can't pump them out fast enough, no matter where you're going to school, no matter how well the numbers for some of these apprenticeship programs and some of these college programs with construction management majors are doing, which they are doing very well. You can't just pump these people out where they're ready to go. And, AI can't really fix that part either. So, hanging on to the people you can hang on to, you got to pay them a little extra to push a broom. You got to pay them a little extra to get them into a little bit of business development role during these during the tougher times. My advice is to do what you can to hang on to your people, and you'll be better off for it on the on the long-term side of things. If that makes sense.
Is it fair to say that anyone thinking about cost cutting and trying to be responsible with their budget, if you're looking to AI to shore up a shortfall and maybe remove some senior people because AI can do it, would you say that no, AI can't do it?
My idea there is to go back to what I mentioned earlier is, and this actually ties into a little bit what Becca was kind of saying in the marketing side. When you're putting those proposals and your team is getting in front of people and you're looking for last look and you're trying to build off the relationship, if you don't have the person that built the relationship, or if you lean to AI all in and it doesn't sound like the person that they've been working with for the last 15 to 20 years, 30 years, 5 years, it's going to put a little bit of a wrench in the situation of, okay, am I still getting the attention that I got? Am I still getting the customer service that I've been getting? Like in my situation, I deal with members all day long. If I started leaning on AI and it didn't sound like me, didn't feel like me, didn't have that one-on-one attention that has gotten me where I've needed to be, I run the risk of not seeing what needs to be done to keep my retention where it needs to be. And that doesn't change when it comes to the construction industry. When you have an industry that was built off of handshakes over a beer or a coffee meeting or things of that nature, there's still a lot of people out there that even as they're adopting AI, they still want to have that pat on the back, and they still want to get out there and go, I feel good about this. I feel good about this. This is the same person I dealt with for years. And, and that's also for referrals too. They want to feel like, okay, I know Chris, I dealt with Chris. They don't want to, I've heard this from membership people, from people looking at other chapters and other places to be in associations where I'm like, oh, this is a great person. You're going to have a great time working with that person. And they come back and go, I got an email back from that person. Chris, I believe you. But God, let me tell you about this email I got back, or let me tell you about this conversation I had. And I'm like, that just doesn't sound like the person I know. And then you come to find out, I'm like, you know what? They might be using resources that they're not used to using and getting away from the personal touch. So keep the people that you can keep and stick with what has made you successful during the tougher times, while learning how to implement what we've all been talking about the last hour on a daily basis and getting better at it. Don't just say, you know what, here we go. I'm just diving into the pool and everyone's doing it and I'm going to do it too. It's that old adage. If everyone jumped off of if all your friends went off a cliff, would you do it too? Let's get good at it and make sure we could swim when we get to the bottom of it before you decide to do that on your own,
Well, and that's truer words have not been said this hour, right? I have AI, it answers my phone, right? If I don't answer, an AI machine will pick up, it will talk to you, it will find out what it needs to find out. It'll even pitch you with my own unique style, like what we present to our clients, right? Our value prop. It's all built in, depending on what you say. And my existing clients absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it. And new clients, I would say 60-40. Those who'd never called me before were impressed I had it, but they also got irritated by it relatively quickly. So yeah, use it wisely, and maybe be very careful how you put it public facing. Becca, over to the marketing side.
Not only did his new clients and existing clients hate it, his friend Becca hated it when she called and had to listen to this long drawn out voicemail.
You should have heard what my mother had to say on top of everything else when she saw it. Yeah, I mean, it's the personal touch is gone. But when you're getting high volume calls, I can see the why it's fantastic. But
Yeah.
sorry, go on.
No, yeah, there's so many interesting things. We're at such a fascinating time in history, and I think that we all get this great opportunity to navigate it and to navigate it together. And where this all shakes out from a practical standpoint, from a legislative standpoint, from a human capital standpoint, is still to be determined. But I think we're all operating in such good faith of trying to build efficiencies and to harness knowledge, and then to have that wonderful knowledge in forms that are easy to communicate and to share with other people and human beings. So to the extent that we can use technology to solidify relationships and draw people together and not push them away, that's kind of one of the most aspirational and the most important aspiration of what technology can do, right? We want to do it because we want to do more things. We want to do more work. We want to do more deals. We want to make things better in the world around us. It's not because, we want to be in a cutthroat environment and replace humans with robots. It's because we want to make things better. So as long as we keep that as our focus, I think we're going to be effective, and the little missteps we make along the way are going to be okay, because we're going to figure those things out.
Right. No, the age-old statement: no one gets fired for buying Salesforce, right, or buying Microsoft, because it exists and it's there to stay, and it's a safe bet. And AI is here to stay. Just depends which one you do in fact buy and adopt, but you must adopt it. So well said. And Darren couldn't make it today, but I have to point out he did meet us at CRETech, and it was a blast. And not only is AI impacting or layering into everyone here, but it's layering into every profession I can see and talk to and touch in every level. Top, bottom, doesn't matter. But it's not replacing jobs, at least not today. Over to you, Saul.
Yeah, I think that it will replace jobs, lots of jobs. That doesn't mean that there won't be new jobs that people will be able to adopt and adapt to. So I expect it to replace a lot of jobs. There aren't a lot of buggy whip manufacturers anymore, and anvil makers, and telephone switchboard operators, of which my wife was one. We plug in, and so don't be afraid of it. It's going to replace jobs. You have to get in and use it. I was fortunate enough to get involved with computers in the mid 1960s, and I went to the Naval Academy, and at the Naval Academy they were part of the Princeton Dartmouth time sharing computer system, which was like the beginning of the internet. And so what they required of every professor at the Naval Academy in the 1960s was that they have some use of a computer in their course. Now, to use a computer, we had to go down to a computer room, and it was a terminal, and the terminal linked up to a centralized computer somewhere in Princeton, Dartmouth. And we didn't have monitors. We had yellow paper that rolled off the end of it. And I remember saying to my classmates, someday they're going to hook a television set up to this thing, and you're going to be able to see all of this. And so I had a psychology professor who, the way he adopted the technology into the course was we had to take 6 exams, and they were computer exams. So you had to go down, log in, take an exam. You had to get, there were 100-question exams. You had to get 100% or you had to start over. And the exam came out of a database of a lot of questions. Well, if you just hit the wrong key, which, by the way, I say, you paid for all these keys, so you might as well use them. And so if you hit the wrong key and you missed it, you get question 99, you get it wrong, you have to start over. Well, and then 60% of your grade was 100%. So you had a passing grade going into the final, but he had to come up with unique ways, professors did, to utilize the technology. And what was the purpose of that? To get us comfortable using the technology. And so today it's the same thing in my mind. I watched it happen with that. I watched it happen with the internet. I watched it happen with the integration of computer systems on United States naval vessels. And you have to get comfortable using the technology. And so, there's all kinds of things that's going to fall out, and there's jobs that's going to be lost. But if you just get comfortable with it, you'll do fine.
Absolutely. It's, as you pointed out 3 years ago, I don't know, 80 episodes ago, I think you brought it first time.
I remember that episode. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The car wash was still doing great then, and then better now, and here we are today.
Now, I'm going to tell you a story about the car wash just real quickly. Because how can AI replace car washes? Well, you know what? It can, right? And it might be that the actual movements that take place are robotic. I can tell you that when we went to taking credit cards, we increased our revenue dramatically. And then we went into taking PayPal, and now, right, all that stuff's integrated, and somebody can just go up and swipe their card or put in a code, and they'll put $20 in, and they'll spend all $20. Is it right? And they'll get the wax, and they'll get all these different things. So the use of the technologies dramatically improved the revenue that we generate from the car wash. And I fully expect that there'll be automatic arms and brushes, and it's all going to happen. And we'll buy that equipment because it's going to make our business better.
So I'm going to use that analogy. So if I have a brand new car, I will not go to an automated car wash because I'm afraid it's going to scratch the car, right? The arms aren't going to touch it as softly as someone would if they hand wash it. So yes, it's there, and yes, it may apply to most, but not everyone. And speaking of not everyone and most, prompt your own AI at your own risk. I mean, the job categories and the lost jobs: data entry, clerical, customer service, market research, that's Salesforce, administrative, back office, manufacturing and logistics, to your point, Saul, moving the arms, getting the assembly line to operate more efficiently, or rather with less humans, as well as manufacturing, logistics, and tech IT. All of these entry level, most of these white collar jobs, you know what jobs haven't been lost? Brokerage, contractors, builders, architects,
Healthcare.
Andreas, I will highlight. So we're almost done, which I can't. This time just flies by with you guys. So I love you.
So what you saying? I'm sorry.
No, the reality is that in our real estate world, there still is the old axiom: buy low, sell high. I mean, that's, so AI is not going to make that decision. I mean, ultimately, you got to work with a broker. And then the other thing is interest rates. Right now, 62% of homeowners are locked below a 4% mortgage rate. And if the interest rates can go lower, then we'll see people moving more and be able to have more sale of homes and everything else. But we have an affordability issue right now, and we need it. And we also have a supply issue. We need Chris to be able to build more homes. And the interest rates, that is a big part of the success of our real estate industry. So you might have AI, all those are super important, but buy low, sell high, and interest rates. That's a big deal.
Which is a great point, Dan. So what you're really saying is nothing has changed really in commercial real estate. Good brokers and good deals and good sponsors and good developers working together alongside good marketers, good GCs, and all of whom getting their car washed. No, I'm kidding. All of whom benefit from the road that Saul helped pave to get to where we are today, and paves to this day with newer, better, smarter bricks, even if he's looking to replace me one day. this AI talk. I do want to thank our audience once more. I want to thank my co-hosts. This would not be possible without them. It would not be possible without our audience. Almost 6,000 tune-ins and downloads monthly. That's within the top 10% of shows globally per Google rankings. Wow, what a road to get here. So excited to be here. So thank you to my fabulous co-hosts. Network is net worth, and I'm honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with you and honored by everyone who tunes in every month. That being said, looking forward to our December episode, our 100th episode this year. Please do tune back in live on X, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you get your social and everywhere you get your audio. I want to say thank you and good night. See us all in December.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to all. And
thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable, powered by CRECo.ai, your source for the latest in real estate and technology. For past episodes, sector interviews, and more great content, follow us on all social media and YouTube at CRECollaborative. You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please like, subscribe, and share. It really does help. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next Real Estate Roundtable.